Bright lights flashing, loud music blaring, and streets absolutely packed with people. Welcome to This Explainer. When most people think of Pattaya, they picture Thailand's ultimate multi-billion-dollar party town, right? To the rest of the world, it's just this bustling tourist paradise. But beneath all those neon signs, there is an entirely different story playing out. So let's dive into this, because what we're going to uncover today is a grim, deeply troubling reality about sex tourism in Thailand. We're going to look at the exploitation of minors in Thailand and a horrific crime against a young woman that recently shook the city to its absolute core.
And honestly, the dissonance here is just wild. On one hand, you've got local authorities and businesses actively trying to rebrand the city. They want it to be known as a quote-unquote family-friendly destination. But on the other hand, operating entirely in plain sight, you have an estimated 60,000 sex workers. It's a massive, incredibly dangerous underbelly that all this new marketing completely fails to hide. This district's history actually goes all the way back to the Vietnam War era, and despite the modern facelift, that reality has never truly left the city's brand.
Section 1. A Fatal Encounter. The Night in Jom Tien.
Our story doesn't actually begin on the manic main walking street. Instead, it starts in a quieter, more relaxed suburb called Jom Tien, which usually caters more to retirees and long-stay visitors. Just picture bars clustered along a lane where fruit sellers are pushing carts full of watermelons. Sky Kanyarat, a local bar worker, was playing pool in the early hours of June 25th. Around this time, a middle-aged foreign man approaches with a heavy, wobbly gait. He seemed pretty drunk. He sat down on a rotten couch with Sky's colleague, bought them drinks, and asked her to go home with him. She refused, so he left the bar alone at around 2 a.m. Now, it seemed like an ordinary, if maybe slightly uncomfortable encounter, but sadly, it was just the beginning.
Things escalated incredibly fast from there. The man was Simon Peter Carman, an Australian national. Shortly after he left that bar, police allege Carman walked over to a nearby palm tree-lined beach strip. And there he met a 17-year-old girl named Thunchanak Donhomla. She had just arrived in Pattaya a week prior from Kalasin, which is a province in northeast Thailand, known for high levels of poverty. Later, CCTV footage caught them holding hands, waiting for an elevator in his condo's lobby. That was literally the last time she was seen alive. The very next night, her naked body, along with her platform sandals and a vape, was discovered stuffed into a suitcase and left in high grass near some local railway tracks.
Section 2. The Hidden Crime. Aftermath and Investigation. When you look at the facts of the investigation, they reveal a truly terrifying sequence of events. When Carman was questioned by the police, he claimed that he and Thunchano got into an argument and that he killed her in self-defense. However, the medical examination told a completely different story. It indicated she actually died by suffocation. On top of that, CCTV footage allegedly captured Carman leaving his condo with a massive suitcase at about 9 p.m. the next day. He was swiftly arrested. The charges? Murder, concealing a corpse, and the abduction of a minor for indecent purposes. Carman, for his part, denies these charges. And this brings us to a really crucial point about the environment these workers navigate every single day. Sky Kanyarat said that when she heard the news about Carman, a guy who honestly seemed totally normal to her colleagues just nights before, her friends were absolutely terrified. The reality of crime against women in Thailand means that even normal is already incredibly dangerous. She pointed out that for every 10 customers they get, 4 are, quote, not good. She's been locked in arms, she's had her hair pulled, and she's even been strangled so hard she had to kick a client just to avoid suffocating. Violence in this space is heavily, dangerously normalized.
Section 3. A Systemic Crisis. The Scale of Danger.
Just let this staggering statistic sink in for a second. 17 times. According to the Minutia Foundation, which is a Thai feminist organization, Thai sex workers face a homicide rate 17 times higher than the general female population. That is astronomical. They endure routine violence just to survive, facing widespread abuse from clients, pimps, and even police. Thunjanak's death isn't some isolated anomaly. It's a tragic and inevitable symptom of a massive systemic crisis where women's lives are just treated as expendable. And when you look at Pattaya's demographics, you see how this is just baked right into the fabric of the city. You have roughly 116,000 registered Thai nationals living there, and maybe 40,000 to 70,000 foreign residents. But right alongside them, there's an estimated population of 60,000 sex workers. I mean, the industry is so massive that it physically and economically shapes the entire city. It is everywhere. So what exactly are we looking at here? It is vital we define the reality of sex tourism. In Thailand, prostitution is technically illegal, and there are very strict laws preventing sexual activity with minors. But the system operates openly. It's an illegal but heavily tolerated system. You get this massive influx of tourists seeking, quote, exotic experiences, and it just perpetuates this deeply exploitative dynamic. Because the laws are so inconsistently enforced, the women involved are left stigmatized and often criminalized instead of actually being protected from the immense dangers they face daily.
Section 4. The vulnerability trap, grooming, and coercion. The sheer demand here creates the perfect camouflage. Laura Parker from the anti-trafficking nonprofit The Exodus Road points out something absolutely crucial. She says that when an entire city treats buying sex as just an ordinary transaction, the severe human rights abuses, like sex trafficking in Thailand and the exploitation of children, become completely invisible. All that loud music and the party atmosphere, it actively makes it easier for people to just ignore the very real coerced victims trapped right out in the open. We also really need to shatter this illusion of choice. Greg Bradley of Destiny Rescue notes that the exploitation of minors in Thailand is almost never a choice. These children are specifically groomed, manipulated, and deceived. Offenders actively hunt for existing vulnerabilities. Remember, 17-year-old Tunchanak came from Kalasin, a province known for incredibly high poverty rates. That is not a coincidence. It is a calculated, targeted exploitation of extreme economic desperation.
Section 5. The human toll, grief beyond the numbers.
It is so important to remember that behind every single one of those statistics, there is a real family. Thunchanek's father, Thangchai Donhomla, spoke about his tremendous grief after hundreds of people attended her funeral back in Kalasin. He said, "My daughter had no mother, so whenever she wanted anything, she would find a way herself, and she always helped me too." It's just heartbreaking. This is the reality of the victims drawn into this hub. They're young people, often just teenagers, trying to survive and help feed their families, only to meet horrific violence at the hands of those exploiting that exact vulnerability.
So as the neon lights flood back on in Pattaya tonight and those bars fill up with tourists all over again, we really have to ask ourselves, how many more vulnerabilities will be exploited before the system actually protects the unprotected? Rebranding a city means absolutely nothing if it merely serves as a brightly lit cover for violence and exploitation. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the realities behind the bright lights and never stop seeking to understand the full picture.